Today, we're going to show you how to grow your glutes and reverse the myth of spot reduction. It's a myth about fat, and I'll set things straight in just a second. But then we're going to show you at the very end one of my favorite techniques on how to balance out your hips. It gets technical. This is for the PTs and doctors for sure, but I think you can do it yourself. I'm going to give you the keys to balance out your hips yourself. But first, let's get into how to grow your glutes and the myth of spot reduction. Welcome to Squat Every Day. I'm Dr. John Cybulski. This is day 4. It shouldn't be hard to remember, but today we're going to go over pistol squats to figure out how to find your glute. It's a little bit of a continuation from yesterday here on the Anatomy of Therapy. Hit the like button before we get going any further. Help other people find this stuff on YouTube. Let's defeat the algorithm together. Thanks. Leave a comment below too, and let's get into the stuff. Let's introduce our friend today. This is Francesca Martinez of Austin, Texas, an Austin friend. I don't actually know her, but we're both in Austin. It's fine. Francesca works with the On It people. She's got a barefoot sponsorship, Vivo Barefoot sponsorship. I think she's got some CBD oil. She teaches flow classes in Austin. Go check her out. Her Instagram is Francesca Fit, Francesca with a K, Fit. She's awesome. She does a bunch of primal flow classes. So if you're in Austin, highly suggest her. She's great. Fantastic demo today. We're very thankful for her. But these we're going to go over. We're going to go over a bunch of TRX stuff initially, and we're going to start from the easiest one and get to the harder ones towards the end. And then, like I said, at the very end, we'll figure out how to do that little technique. I'll show you how to balance out one hip at a time and then strengthen up that balance, and then we'll do the opposite side. But we'll do that at the very end. It'll help to understand everything. Today, TRX stuff, right? If you don't have a TRX, you can use a rubber band. Wes, you can use those rings. But yeah, get the TRX banded up to a rack. Hold on to it with both your hands or something similar. There's a lot of different variations, but these are very helpful. The first one is kind of like a shrimp squat. Like I said, we'll go over this again. The second one is a more pure pistol, I believe. Yep. We're going over kind of a pistol, but TRX with the assistance of the TRX. The pistol one is the one that I'm going to use for the technique at the very end. So pay attention with that one. We'll get some foundations, and then I'll show you how to, it's literally untwisted spines in the clinic. I use it on a more technical basis, but I think you could do a version of it yourself. It's going to be a good one. So stick around to the end. Hit that like button. Help YouTube find me. Then we go to the next one, which is a box assisted. And then the very last one, another box assisted basically. But you're going to let your leg go down. And this will lead into that final technique. Okay, so let's go back to the myth of spot reduction. Okay, spot reduction is when people are like, oh, I've got too much fat like on my belly or on my face or whatever it is. Usually it's belly. And they go, I'm going to do 1,000 crunches and I'm going to burn all this belly fat. It is a myth that does not work like that. That is not how you burn belly fat, okay? When you work out, you are pumping blood into the muscles. You are creating scarcity of oxygen in muscles by pumping blood into the muscles so that they begin to repair themselves over the following days. So if you're not going to, the idea with spot reduction is that it attacks fat. It does not attack fat, it attacks muscles. If you go after the muscles, you'll get the fat secondarily. Fat burns more muscle. Fat burns more fat than muscle burns. Anyways, you get it. You remember the old thing, right? Pump blood into your muscles. If you do not find and you cannot feel those muscles when you work out, then you cannot pump blood into them. That is precisely what this TRX band is going to assist us with today. And what Francesca is going to show us to do, how to find and feel our glutes. So let's get right into that. You want to isolate an area and deprive it of oxygen, which means you're pumping blood into it. So TRX going up this way, leg going back this way. This is like a shrimp squat. Sometimes people hold the leg up. This is like my the curtsy squat from the other day. If you want to swing this leg over this way, you can tell she's shifting over their way because there's more of a side bend on this side. So she is shifting her weight back through that hip. That's the idea. Think about putting your weight back through that hip, and these guys are going to assist you. And this back leg is what we call kind of the rudder to the situation, right? And quit hitting pause, John. But basically, yeah, you let that leg go back and try to shift your weight into that other side. think about keeping this shin basically straight up and down. So she's looking down right now. She's probably checking to see that this knee is over the toe. It's okay if it goes inside or outside the toe. That's not really the biggest deal, but you want to keep it basically straight up. The more that the knee goes back behind the toe, and I know we've done a bunch of videos about knees over the toes, yeah, that's fine too. It's okay to let the heel go back over the toe because that's going to push weight into that glute. This back leg is essentially the rudder that's pulling your center of gravity back and hopefully over to that right side there. And these weights are going to help you, again, shift further back so that you can feel into that glute. Find it, feel it, do it repetitively. It's going to be a skill. So these are going to be a prep for your movement. She's going back, she's going across, and she's keeping, you can see the balance on this foot. This is a great foot. She's got weight on her heel. She's got weight on her forefoot. This is probably why she's sponsored by Vivo Barefoot. And she's got an arch there. So the majority of the weight is probably going through the midfoot. She's not feeling it on her arch per se, not on her arch, like on the ground, but she feels it on the arch, going through the midfoot basically. So she's going to feel the weight going from the forefoot back to the heel. Keep a nice firm foot. And we'll go to the next exercise. Francesca, no, to the traditional pistol squat with an assist. So the legs going forward this time, which means you're going to want to straighten those arms towards the end to help you shift your weight back into that glute. Again, we have a nice flat foot. Let's see if we can get a back view so we can get a little lateral idea of what's going on. Maybe the next one here. She'll go up and down. So make sure that once you go down, here we go. Once you go down and find the glute, as you feel it, make sure that you feel it on the way back up as well. So kind of what you want to think about is capturing that glute and then keeping that glute. That is the big trick. So here's the lateral idea I was talking about. Go back just a frame or two. Goodness, this is perfect. Okay, here we go. So this is the idea. You'll see that this knee is in. This shin is pretty straight up. It's a little bit out. That's fine. There's nothing really wrong with that. You can see her ankle mortise joint is nice. She is strong. This side is more open. This side is more closed, which tells me her center of gravity is closer to that left side. These are all the markers you want to use with this TRX band to cheat over into that hip so that you can see it goes out that way. So if the hip is going out this way, the knee is going in, you can see how that kind of pushes and grows out or gives you access to putting stress into that part of the glute. You can see on this side, her leg is straight forward. It doesn't have the same curling effect, right? This is the big key to understanding how to grow your glutes. When people squat, they say you need to go knees out, and you do at some point. But if you want to find one glute first, pull that knee inwards, which pushes the top part of the femur outwards and kind of rounds that area of the glute. Again, you can see on this side, her toe is straight forward, so she's internally rotated. She's still got a glute there, but you can see the difference from the left to the right, basically, right? Okay, so remember this. This is the other part with this side. So if she's more side bent on this side, these paraspinal muscles will be working. And these paraspinal muscles, as you can kind of see by the intensity, are kind of let go. She's got some intensity up in the shoulders because she's holding onto the TRX. But if you have one-sided low back pain, this is how I'm going to show you how to fix that with a little technique towards the end. Okay, let's get into it. Let's keep going. We'll get back to this one. That's the perfect angle that you can see how we're aligning our center of gravity over the glute to hit the glute. The last two are pretty straightforward. It's just going to be a slow box descent. You're going to not have the assist anymore. You're just going to sit back and try to maintain the same sensation that you had on the TRX previously on the previous two. So at this point, your glute should be trucking. Now you need to do it without the assistance. We're kicking off the training wheels, and you're going to do it on your own. This thing is nice and splotchy, right? Okay, so the last one here, same thing. She's going to do it without an assist, but the assist is still the block. So her leg is going to be able to go down, which is what I was talking about, how this hip goes down. That back hip is kind of high, which is perfect, which is fine. But you're going to let that leg go down and go forward. It's a little bit tougher if you're doing it on the flat ground. So the bench with the assist up is a nice help. So do the first two with the TRX, and then do the box descents, and then coming back up without the assist, and then do it sideways with a little bit of an assist, one leg to the other. So you can let it drop. Okay, let's get to this technique I was talking about, because this is the fun part. Oh, that was actually probably the best place to stop it. Okay, so you go forward, you're dropping your weight down. Now, here, okay, let's go back. Let's find the best area. Okay, so this is probably going to be the best area. When the femur is at 90 degrees, we've talked about pelvic tilt before on some other ones, but this is pelvic tilt. Once your hips get at 90 degrees, your pelvis should be neutral, okay? Which means, and you can kind of see that here in her low back, how it's softer, if you will. So through this part of the thoracic spine, she's extended, as she should be. But this lumbar spine, as it is nearing neutral, those muscles begin to lengthen and they have to turn off, which is why people talk about kind of the butt wink and keeping it. You don't need to worry about butt wink in terms of this. Your back is not loaded with a ton of weight. You can let your hips pelvic tilt, but you need to know when they do that, they turn off these very low back muscles. Now, they may not fully do that. As I was saying, how now that she's dropped below 90, we see how this left side, the downside, is working a little bit more than the opposite, right? Sometimes you won't see this. Sometimes you'll see this hip hiked up and people have a lot of right low back pain, won't be able to let this hip go down, which would be inhibiting this hip flexor. So what I like to do, once the hips have gone below 90 degrees, so I know the pelvis has posteriorly rotated, that low back is now inhibited, and so you're getting a more pure pelvic and femoral movement, okay? So we've kind of ruled out the back. The low back is safe because we're supported here. There's not a lot of stress. And what you're going to do, you can even let this foot kind of hit the ground, but what I want you to do is, she's keeping her hips nice and straight. I want you to try to let that hip go down. So you go almost all the way, let's see if we can get, okay. So you go all the way to the bottom. She goes all the way to the bottom of the squat, or you go all the way to the bottom. You can literally put, like we've talked about, hamstring to calf. That's fine. But then once you get to the bottom, stay at the bottom. So now you can see her lumbar spine flexing back towards you, right? Which means we have created now space in this low back. We have decompressed the low back because the pelvis has tilted posteriorly. Now, for sure, the foot that's on the ground is going to stay posteriorly pelvic tilted, because it is weight bearing and it has to kind of stay locked and loaded. That's why we're kind of growing this glute here. But that means that this side is actually uninhibited. It is only being held up by your obliques, by your hip flexor, and these paraspinals on this side. So if we want to release that side a little bit more, you'll see how her toe is pointed up. Let that toe turn outwards, and then let this hip drop down to the ground, like almost try to tap that hip to the ground. Once you do that, you'll be inhibiting your obliques, you'll be inhibiting your hip flexors, and you'll be activating the ones on the opposite side so that you fully get out of that tilt and back. What I like to do once you've done that is do that a couple of times. Be able to let it go and then bring it back. So let the hip go out, turn the toe out, sit this side of the butt down. This foot will stay up, this side will stay up. You're still holding it with your upper body, but now we've let go of this whole one side. This is how I fixed my low back pain last time. You have to wait for the right stage till it's a little bit cool, but you can absolutely get your spine to bend one way. There's a little bit of a twist. I don't want to go into the specifics of what it's actually doing to the lumbar spine. Doctors, this is a little bit higher level PRI stuff. It's not so much DNS once we've let go, done the inhibition and activation. But PRI stuff, this is basically if she's on her left foot, and we assume that this spine is turned to the right, and you can almost see how it is actually side bent to the right. She needs to let that hip go down. So you can see how it's bending this way. The spine is going away. It's going over to her left, right? It's kind of crazy. You can actually see that. Didn't know that before making this video. But if she were to let this go, she would be able to shift that spine to a more neutral or left side bent position, which she's trying to do over through her thoracic spine. You can see her using her lat, maybe over engaging her lat. I'm not judging. This is just anatomically. She would be able to get her spine to go the opposite way and drop the hip down. You want to be able to do this on both sides, obviously. You can play it back, but basically you want to get to the bottom of the pistol squat and let this one butt side go down, turning the foot out, and then letting it come back. a couple times. And once you've been able to let it go and get it back, let it go and get it back, see if you can let it go and then push up. Because that will keep your body, so you can, man, her side bend is really obvious here. You can see how she is side bent to the right, going this way. So Francesca actually needs this. Francesca, if you have any pain in your back there, your back is kind of bent, just a touch. Look, she's strong. I've seen her move. I've seen her work out. She's very strong, so she probably doesn't have any issues. But if you wanted to let that side go, this would be an awesome technique. I gotta shut up about it. I could talk about it all day. You need to do that technique. You need to follow Francesca. You need to hit the like button. That's day 4. Y'all have a great day. Peace.